Thank you so much, Samina,
Thank you
and thank
too.
you. Thank you for all those fascinating presentations. I'm here to close up and wrap up the whole conference, the whole workshop today. And I have also a closing statement, which, can you see my screen that I'm sharing with you now?
Yes,
Uh,
Maria.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think it very much links with what we heard on this panel. We heard a lot about vulnerable populations, and this is exactly the point I would like to make before closing this workshop. So, how do we see modern servitude affecting those vulnerable social groups? And I have two broad case studies. And I look at the AI datification of poor people and women. And so starting from, and I'm not going to keep you long because I know everyone is tired. Let me see, yeah. Starting from poor people. I also mentioned it, people on benefits. So I take a look at the 2019 report of the UN General Assembly. There we have a special rapporteur on extreme poverty and human rights. So Professor Philip Alston spoke about the so-called emergence of the digital welfare state. And what exactly is that digital welfare state? There are systems of social protection worldwide that provide a range of government services and goods to underprivileged persons. So it's exactly what you're talking in this panel. So low-income individuals, job seekers, people with disabilities, and so on. And the digital welfare state, according to the UN rapporteur on extreme poverty, is employing basically new digital technologies to automate, to predict, to identify, to survey, to detect, to target, and to harass, and even to punish their beneficiaries. And he said, especially the poorest and the most vulnerable among them. So digital technologies are used in different ways by the welfare state. They're used in a kind of benevolent ways. We need them because we need to verify the identity of benefits applicants and to prevent and to assess their eligibility, to calculate benefits payments, also to prevent and detect welfare fraud. That is a very big issue. Calculate risks, how risky they could be in engaging in fraud. But more importantly, the effect, but also kind of the intention of the design of those digital welfare systems is punitive in nature. So they're used to expose and punish the slightest irregularities of welfare beneficiaries, and that is a direct quote from the UN Special Rapporteur on Extreme Poverty. And here I would like to stress the point that Alison made earlier, while avoiding such measures in relation to the well-off, to the better off in society. So they impose around-the-clock surveillance of poor people, they undermine their autonomy, their autonomy in relation to many issues, sexual and reproductive choices, choices in relation to food, alcohol, drugs, and much else. And last year, in fact, we had the whole Dutch government, and I have put here on the slide, that had to resign because they wrongly accused 20,000 families in the Netherlands of child benefit fraud. In the Netherlands, it's a very big issue. The benefit fraud, as is equally also in the UK, and detecting benefit fraud. So what we have there, discriminatory, punitive laws implemented through different AI technologies and combined with the threat of sanctions. They are directed at the poor and most vulnerable societal groups, and they exacerbate long-term health conditions and, of course, negatively affect their mental health. So the poorer and the most vulnerable face pervasive forms of modern servitude, as the design of the digital welfare state leaves them to the mercy of private entities, because it's private companies that will come in to provide to the state all the infrastructure for that and the technological tools. And all those are, of course, not developed with their interests in them and in the best interests and needs in mind. And then it's not only the poor people that have to sustain additional layers of surveillance arising from the condition of being poor, and therefore suspicious for the rest of the society. It's also another societal group, and this is women. So women, their data and bodies are also susceptible to multiple forms of modern indentured servitude. So women must navigate sexual assaults online, revenge porn, online sexualized abuse, deep fakes, and so on. But now we have also new forms of surveillance of women's bodies, health and reproductive choices, and also intimate relations emerging with a range of different actors that are involved in the surveillance of women. We have the market and private entities, for instance, employers, insurance companies, advertisers. We have intimate partners, they're actual partners, and ultimately also governments that are basically engaging in the surveillance of women through different technological tools. And so there are many examples of the AI datafication of women and by different actors. And I have tried to put very few news media stories here on this slide. So the period and ovulation app that was sharing women's period dates with Facebook, the use of family planning apps by employers and health insurance to control women's fertility and reproductive choices, the revelations that the fertility app within which women share sex and menstruation information was funded by US anti-abortion campaigners. And all this gives us a disturbing glimpse into the complexities of them and also the power asymmetries of this surveillance capitalism society that we referred to in previous panels as well. And then, of course, we have different actors at the market, surveying women and looking at the data of women. Some of this concerns their reproductive and health data. And then we have intimate partner surveillance of women. We have so many spy apps that basically, as Emma was saying before, is what is the purpose of that technology to exist in the first place? So spy apps that can be installed on the mobile phone of women, monitor social media activity, check their contacts, GPS location, download media files, and even access deleted messages. And of course, we know what this intimate partner surveillance, what its effects are and how can they affect women. They disproportionately affect women, and sometimes they lead to femicides. And then, of course, we have government involved in with the surveillance of women, but I will leave that with the digital strip searches in the UK and how the police would basically treat women complaining, making complaints to victims of sexual assault or rape. So I will leave it there. Just to conclude, the socio-technical structures of modern servitude often tend to affect disproportionately the most vulnerable. And we saw that very well in this panel. So despite this promise, AI technologies have not really succeeded in dealing with long existent, large and systemic social ills such as poverty, discrimination, gender, racial, and socioeconomic subjugation. So instead, the AI mediation of vulnerable groups, data and bodies largely remains both gendered and susceptible to socioeconomic exceptions. So that was my brief statement. I know I don't end on a very positive note either. It has been quite depressing, many of the presentations today. But I want to say that, wrapping things up, we have heard a lot of different perspectives on AI and how this can contribute to or potentially deny equity. So I would like to thank you all, thank our distinguished speakers, thank our keynote speakers, thank our panelists very much, and hope that this workshop will initiate some further reflection, discussions, and critical approaches to AI, as well as potentially considering the potential positive impact. Thank you very much, and I will stop sharing here.